America's love affair with flying reached full blossom in the roaring golden 20s. Flight meant exhilaration, experimentation, freedom, and sometimes failure. But above all, it was a new frontier, a new adventure. In the beginning, like most things, model aviation was cumbersome and crude. But it was a magnet for youth because it was a part of the world of flight they could all share. Model aviation clubs popped up like mushrooms after a summer rain. Growth required organization and regulation, so the Academy of Model Aeronautics was born, the governing body for model aviation in America. Meanwhile, all over the world, aeromodeling was soaring toward new horizons of scientific advancement. With the advent of radio-controlled flying in the 1940s, the hobby took on a new sophistication and importance and became even more diversified. Above all, each category in the modern world of miniature aircraft, whether it be indoor flying, free flight, control line, or radio control, has become an interesting and exciting family activity in which people can find fun and friendship, relaxation and enjoyment. All of this on any day spent with those marvelous miniatures from the world of aeromodeling. The increasing popularity of model aviation is inspiring, although it's created a welcome but pressing problem for people like Executive Director John Work, who works in AMA's national headquarters in Washington, D.C.
The growth of model aviation has been so phenomenal that my only worry at this stage is whether we're going to be able to come up with enough flying sites to keep that growth going. So far, we've been okay. But unless we can really come up with more flying sites, there's a real problem. If we can get state and federal governments interested in recognizing the need and the value of model aviation, there might be a source of additional flying sites.
What agency would be good to pursue in this area?
The Department of Interior is the place to start, I think. And they're already on record as recognizing this activity as a good activity, and if we can get that upper level recognition into the state level so that the state departments can work with us, then I think we can really make a program that'll work, get more flying sites.
The program has already begun to work in locations like Sepulveda Dam Flying Field, which is an integral part of the Los Angeles Parks program. The encouraging aspect from the aeromodeler's point of view is that the city recognized the need for a conveniently located flying site. The Los Angeles Parks Commission not only made special efforts to provide the space, but also paved the runways and control line circles. The key to such an endeavor is, of course, that the city realized model flying to be a healthy and worthwhile activity that would be a benefit to the community. This mutually beneficial relationship has flourished equally well 3,000 miles to the east in New York City's Gateway National Recreation Area, or Floyd Bennett Field, as it was known in World War II when it was a naval air station. Located in Brooklyn, New York, this premium land has been donated to all model flyers and is one of the best facilities in the country. Many club members own sophisticated and innovative miniatures, which often show up in major competitions. These adventurous design avenues are encouraged by advanced technology, as well as access to such a singular flying site. Some of the more exotic models at Floyd Bennett are multi-engine airplanes, which are to aeromodelers what a Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud is to an automobile fancier. No wonder that the aircraft's proud owners lavish such meticulous and loving care on their valuable babies. But one engine or six, a modeler's love for his plane is not measured in dollars and cents. Rather, its value resides within each flyer's feelings for his airplane. Some men build scale replicas of ships they actually flew in World War II or Korea, such as this Martin B-26 Marauder. Although there are quite different skills involved in flying a plane from the ground as opposed to being in the cockpit, the feelings of nostalgia and the intrinsic joy of flight combine to form a heady emotional brew. There are many unique activities that go on at a place such as Floyd Bennett Field. One of the more unusual highlights of this outing was the tandem flying exhibition of twin-engine scale B-25 Mitchell bombers of World War II vintage. Because the planes were almost identical in appearance, the landing gear of one was kept down so that each operator could tell which plane he was controlling. Trying to remember as you view this that tandem flying's a lot tougher than it looks. One of the most interesting aircraft at Floyd Bennett was this exquisite Douglas A-26 Invader low-level attack bomber. The real one was used extensively for strafing in Korea. It has also been used to fight forest fires in California. This particular model took owner Jim Funduck over 1,500 hours to build. It's starkly realistic, boasting workable turrets, running lights, bomb bays, and many true-to-life details. While the thrill of twin-engine flying is one aspect of the hobby, there is a less complex facet of modeling that's simply two people going out to share some fun together. As former astronaut Frank Borman learned from his days as a model enthusiast, it's a perfect way to get to know and enjoy the people you love.
In my case, it provided many long hours of very fine companionship with my father, because he helped me build them, and we worked together as a team, and it was really a fine activity. I probably got to my father better building model airplanes than any other thing we did.
Fathers, sons, wives, and daughters are all part of AMA's total membership of about 75,000 people who belong to over 1,300 flying clubs. It's because the hobby embraces people of all walks of life that its growth has more than tripled in the last dozen years. Not in any sport are experienced old-timers more eager to help the inexperienced fledgling friend or family member get his or her eyes into the sky. It's a sharing of interest, knowledge, and accomplishment.
Do you want to take it off?
Yeah, I'll take it off.
As soon as I get it up, you can take over. Okay. Take over. There it is right there. Straighten the wings out, that's good. And a little left so you're not over the flight line. Correct for that. Okay, you're coming around. Watch it, you're not going into the sun. Okay. Give it some left because you're flying out of the field perimeter. Watch it, you're turning too steep. Give it up elevator. Give me the transmitter before it goes in. I'm going to bring in for a landing. What a nice top order plane this is.
While this husband-wife team shared a control box, an easier method is practiced by a father and son who have an expert friend with a dual control or buddy box.
All right, you ready? All right, I'm going to take off now. Okay, here we go. Just follow me through. I got high throttle now. I'll pull back a little bit, and she'll take off. When I tell you, you'll have it. I'll push this button, and you'll have it on the buddy box. Now I push the button. You go ahead and fly.
I got it.
All right, fly it straight down, and we'll make just easy.
It's a little windy. Tough.
It's a little tough.
Yeah, tough.
Just hang on to it. All right, if you get in trouble, holler, and I'll take it.
Okay.
All right, now make a little bit of a right turn. Come around a little more and put a little up into it. Little up. Okay, now straighten it out. Little left, little left. All right, keep it there. Straight across now. All right, now you'll make another left turn. Right now, make your left turn. Okay, look, I got the box now, all right? And you'll give it to Donnie Jr., and then we'll take it from there. All right, Don, you ready?
Yeah.
To the right a little bit. Right, right, right. You're going left. Right. That's a boy. Put a little up in it. Hair of up.
I don't fool.
All right, I got it. Relax. Relax. Easy, yeah? Great.
Yeah.
All right, now how about if I land it? You're almost out of fuel?
Okay.
You're doing better than your father did. Now, cut throttle. Follow me through. Just like you're flying it on the box. Nice, smooth landing. Look at that. Nice? Okay? Okay, I'll taxi
While
it back
this sort
now.
of flying is not for the very young, the AMA-sponsored Cub program is one in which small children build stick and paper airplanes with adult help and encouragement. The planes are something the youngsters build and fly in a short period of time, for the program is designed to make a child's first endeavor into modeling a successful one. From these little acorns, mighty oaks may grow. Such is the story of Phil Kraft, a Californian whose lifelong interest in aeromodeling has led to a career as one of the most advanced radio control system manufacturers in the world. This factory is a far cry from the small garage where Phil and his father began the business on a shoestring. Now, like other RC equipment manufacturers, Phil uses the most advanced materials and techniques available to promote progress in the sport that has enriched his life by continually presenting new challenges, as well as the opportunity to travel all over the world as a competitor on the United States RC aerobatic flying team.
The sport of model aviation is really one of the most worldwide and yet probably one of the least known of any sports. In our international competitions, we have teams from virtually every major country in the world. For example, we have modelers from Poland and Hungary and Czechoslovakia, Romania, Yugoslavia. I've been fortunate enough to compete in some of those countries.
International meets are the Mount Everest of aeromodeling competition. They're demanding, tense, and dramatic. They're also a bristling, exciting clearinghouse for the exchange of new ideas and new technical developments. In addition to international meets, there is competition in all categories on the national and regional level, as well as thousands of smaller local flying field gatherings designed to give everyone a chance to have the fun and the thrill of competing in his or her specialty. There are 4 major categories and many subcategories of miniature aviation from which to choose your favorite. One popular field is radio control, which includes the discipline of aerobatic flying. The objective here is to guide the plane through a series of planned and complex maneuvers. Then you hope you've accomplished this blue sky choreography well enough to impress a panel of sharp-eyed, well-schooled judges who score each aerobatic movement as critically as would an Olympic diving judge. Another category of RC flying is soaring. There are various ways to launch these sailplanes, such as gas engine, tow line, or rubber power. However, once the aircraft is aloft, it must be controlled by the pilot on the ground using radio communication only. No propulsion devices are allowed. Therefore, competition soaring, whether it be in duration, distance, or speed, becomes a true test of expertise in the fields of aerodynamics, geometry, and atmospheric conditions. Yet another category of RC flying is pylon racing. For these sleek craft, the objective is to run multiple plane races that recapture the spirit and thrills of the great air races of the past and present, and that will also be interesting for spectators as well as challenging for the contestants. With planes zooming around pylons and each other at speeds of over 100 miles per hour, pylon racing's objectives of thrills, interest, and challenge are certainly easily met. While radio-controlled flying is one distinct area of model aviation, free flight is another. There are numerous subcategories of free flight competition, all with the same objective, which is to stay aloft for a maximum duration. Whether it be indoors with delicate gossamer winged aircraft that are as light as a spider's web, or outdoors, there are many different ways to prepare and launch these aircraft. One basic rule takes over after launching, and that is that the planes be free to soar where wind and rising air currents take them, free to slip into the vast blue dome of sky and lift serenely, silently into the sparkling sunlight. While the untethered beauty of free flight flying may appeal to the artist in us, another major category of model aviation is control line, in which the aircraft is manipulated by the pilot mechanically or electrically through one or more attached metal lines. Many control line models are in the scale category, faithfully reproduced replicas of actual man-carrying aircraft. Although these particular models are all control line types, the attention to detail, the realism displayed in scale aircraft of any category is often astounding. In one international meet, the Russian team unveiled two scale models which stole the show. Both were twin-engine aircraft, which added much to their exotic appeal. The Russian modelers eventually won this category because each plane duplicated its full-size prototype with an amazing amount of fidelity and attention to the tiniest of details. Perhaps the most interesting fact about this particular plane is that the Russian pilot actually designed and built a new type of piston engine for it. Another facet of control line competition is called rat racing, in which 2 or 3 contestants race each other for a prescribed amount of laps. Fuel stops are mandatory, so an expert and Cobra Quick pit crew can often determine the outcome of any type of control line racing contest. In the speed category, the aircraft are equipped with a tuned exhaust to add power and to quiet the engine. These little buzz bombs are made just to see how fast they can go. They drop their wheels on takeoff. Then it's off to the races at speeds around 200 miles per hour. Now that's a dizzying pace for anyone. In the category of precision aerobatics, a man and his machine perform a series of graceful patterns, communicating with each other along steel umbilical cords which transmit instantaneous reaction. And the action is an undulating dance that takes on the mood of a Swan Lake ballet. But for the red-blooded modeler who wants his romance spiced with adventure, there's always combat flying where every man's a von Richthofen, and the object is to cut off your opponent's tail streamer. It's the mongoose and the cobra. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. And sometimes it's more than a streamer that falls from 12 o'clock high. The veteran combat flyer takes his losses with a shrug, for there's always another day to slash across the sky, white scarf billowing in the slipstream. And perhaps this time, you will turn someone's control line combat flyer into a long-gone free flight model. A relatively new and unusual branch of the Aeromodeling family is RC helicopters. These chopper models are highly maneuverable and can be used as learning devices to gather flight information about the full-size ships they mimic. This interplay between model and man-carrying aircraft has always been the basis of aviation testing, and certainly was important to a man like Phil Kraft in developing aerobatic patterns for his stunt plane, the Superfly.
I learned a lot of things from flying models that were directly incorporated into Superfly. For example, I once crashed 3 radio control models in a row in flat spins before I found out what the secret was to make a aircraft that would recover readily when forced into the flat spin. So the only experience really that I have is model aviation. And the Superfly has been very successful, and what successful it has had can be directly attributed to model airplane flying.
The Superfly was designed and built by Phil. It's sharply defined, compact, and wastes no space or material. It's been highly successful in aerobatic competition. As you'll see, the miniature version has the same control capabilities. And when they're in the air, it's not easy to tell which is which if there are no reference points for size.
It's really very interesting to compare the characteristics in flying between the model Superfly and the big one. Really, they're very similar in many ways, despite their disparity in size and weight. The control inputs, of course, and rolls and in the other maneuvers are the same. And in fact, we've had a lot of fun going out taking the model and working out a sequence and then going up and doing it in the large Superfly. Of course, things happen a lot quicker with a model, but they do have the advantage. If you make a major mistake, you can build another model. But the big one, I'm afraid that would be a totally different disaster.
In the history of aviation, many potential disasters have been avoided by thorough pre-testing with models. But as John Clemens, the president of AMA, tells us, there are sometimes pitfalls for the intrepid model makers of the world.
You know, the average modeler builds his aircraft from a kit. That means a box of supplies that he puts together, assembles together, and takes it out to fly it. And, of course, once in a while, in flying it, a mishap comes along and crashes the airplane and turns it instantly back into a kit.
These are the men, the pilots who defy the odds, who take the risks, who know not the meaning of fear. They are stout-hearted men whose jobs are fraught with peril. It's enough to force a man to seek comfort wherever he can. While some mishaps are minor, others are truly heart-rending. This beautiful twin-engine Shrike Commander, which has been flown successfully many times before, represented a big investment. Then on a routine takeoff, one of the engines cut out. The Shrike can be salvaged, and when repaired, will be as good as new. However, this incident serves to explain a little bit about a man named George Clapp from Syracuse, New York. His pride and joy is this Gale-Fokker tri-motor, which he built from scratch. The time involved in drawing up the plans and then shaping each part was truly astronomical. When he was finished, George found that he had invested so much of himself in constructing the tri-motor that he was afraid to fly it. He got around that obstacle by having a friend who is an expert pilot take over the controls. So now, by shifting some of the tension and fear, George Clapp sits back and more fully enjoys the view as his Fokker tri-motor takes to the air. While George Clapp understandably avoids flying his creation, in the building of it, he's like all the inquisitive experimenters who have so strongly bonded model aviation to full-scale aviation throughout history.
The contribution that model aviation has made to the field of full-scale aviation is simply impossible to estimate. It has to have been probably the most important facet of full-scale aviation, because you can go clear on back to the dreamers, the Da Vincis, the Langleys, the Wrights, and all of those people. You can bet that every one of them built a model airplane of their dream before they could possibly build the full-size one that they were going to put their bodies in. The space shuttle. The space shuttle concept is actually being developed by a bunch of engineers, all of whom belong to a model airplane club. And they go out as a recreation, fly model airplanes. They prove the practicability of carrying the space shuttle on the back of a 747 for launch purposes. They actually did this in model form and were successful with it. Now that same craft is put in the air in full-scale form, knowing far more about it than we possibly could have had it never been miniaturized.
The space shuttle has been one of NASA's most ambitious and successful projects. Modelers should be proud of their contribution to it. In the early days of the project, there were some problems with the full-scale vehicles. Some of the engineers, who were modelers, built their own miniatures of the space shuttle and the 747 that carried it. With these miniatures, they got the bugs out. And since then, the space shuttle project has turned in performances beyond anyone's greatest expectations. There are many instances in which NASA uses models to aid in research. Here, models are being readied to determine spin and stall characteristics of a high-speed piloted jet bomber, which was designed to eject atomic weapons from the tail. In this test, the model is that of a Phantom jet fighter. It is taken to an altitude of 4,000 feet and then released and put into a flat spin. From the information gathered, NASA engineers will be able to avoid some critical problems while developing a safer, more efficient man-carrying vehicle. Another NASA program which involves models was the Rogallo Wing Project. Because of the large lifting surface versus the weight of the craft, it was hoped that this wing, which can be folded for storage, could be used to bring space modules back to Earth rather than dump them in the ocean. This is the first man-carrying powered aircraft which used the Rogallo wing concept, and it was intended for combat purposes as a flying jeep. In order to learn some of the other ways in which modeling has been used to advance civilian and military aviation projects, we visited Maynard Hill, former president of the AMA and holder of many model airplane world records at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory.
In recent years, the military has become interested in the so-called mini remotely piloted vehicle. This is a pusher delta vehicle which was designed and developed and built here at APL for the Army. It carries television cameras and sometimes reconnaissance cameras. Many model airplane techniques were used in the construction and in the testing of prototypes for the vehicle. One of the more interesting features of this vehicle is that it uses an electrostatic autopilot, a small 2-ounce solid-state device that can be used to sense vertical based on the electric field in the atmosphere. This device can replace a 5-pound gyroscope that may normally be used in autopilots. I'd like to show you how this device works, so let's go to a local flying field where we can use some model airplanes to demonstrate how it really operates. My comb takes on a negative charge when I put it through my hair, and you'll see it causes the elevator to deflect up and down. In the sky, up is positive, down is negative, and this action causes the airplane to fly straight and level in the sky. There is a sensor on each wingtip so that when the airplane is in a bank, there is a difference in potential between the two wingtips, and these cause the airplane to fly wings level. Now, one of the interesting things you can do with this electrostatic autopilot is to let the airplane take off entirely by itself without any pilot command. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to turn on the autopilot, and I'm simply going to gun the engine, let it take off entirely by itself. I'm going to put this airplane into a fully developed spin by pilot command, such as it is now, and turn on the autopilot and let it recover entirely by itself. All right, now to demonstrate the polarization of this sensor, I'm going to pull up into a half a loop. And at the top of the loop, I will turn on the autopilot and allow it to recover entirely by itself. And as you see, it knows which way is up, which way is down. I'd like to demonstrate this electrostatic autopilot in a somewhat different airplane. This is a Pusher Delta remotely piloted vehicle developed for the Army for battlefield surveillance. It's a slightly heavier airplane than the average model, and so we use a bungee cord to accelerate it out. I will turn on the autopilot, and we will start the engine, and again accelerate it out, and let it take entirely off by itself. Okay, Bill. So there you have it. Model aviation has led to a significant invention which has left us replace this with that. The device is finding practical applications at the present time, and I, frankly, fully expect that model aviation will continue to contribute to our progress.
Progress does not come without paying a price. For every success we have now, there was someone who failed before. Yet those pioneers would not quit. For them it was always try again. Sometimes success was but a brief flickering candle too soon blown out. Then it was back to try again. Eventually all the trials, error, and persistence pay off, and we do leap forward in great bounding arcs of flight. Occasionally, the creations of works of wonder and an art that began with sticks of balsa wood and crinkly tissue sometimes finds itself with a Mona Lisa. Such a creation is John Nicolacci's PBM seaplane. This is a beautiful blue giant that draws crowds wherever it appears. In looking at a model as impressive and magnificent as this PBM, it's best if the aspiring beginner keeps in mind the fact that not everyone in miniature aviation flies a plane like this. However, it's also good to keep in mind that such inspiring constructions are certainly within the realm of reality. In a ship such as this, all the elements of model airplane know-how come together. Science, chemistry, mathematics, weather, engineering, physics, perseverance, and patience. And wrapped around all these and holding them together is a man or woman enjoying a model airplane, be it a simple beginner's model or a complex, exotic, one-of-a-kind. For every model flyer, there are moments that transcend the ordinary. Special moments when a golden veil of joy and contentment is drawn across the mind's eye, and there is gladness in the discovery of a hobby as fulfilling as that of model aeronautics. Interest in the many variations of the modern world of miniatures is growing daily all across the country. There is truly something for everyone. From the indoor meets held in giant dirigible hangars in Lakehurst, New Jersey, to the beautiful cliffside flying field at Torrey Pines, California. The world of flight is enjoyed by students, doctors, mechanics, laborers, secretaries, men and women, young and old. It's a world of form and function, rainbow hues and gliding movement. It's a family affair that offers a challenge to each according to his abilities. For man, the world of flight has always been an expression of freedom. It colors our dreams, for we've all flown there, unbound and in joyous wonder. So, whatever your interest, it can be found in the varied and fun-filled world of those marvelous miniatures.